Shabbat Shalom. 10 days ago, as I mentioned last Shabbat, a number of us went to the village of Oak Park board meeting. And it was a very contentious meeting around adopting the ceasefire resolution on Gaza. And it was very, very upsetting and worrying meeting, and the sense of the feeling even of hate stayed for more than a week. I spoke to others who were there too. You wake up in the middle of the night and taken back into the feeling of those sentiments, and waking up in the morning thinking about it. It's so very strange, because as that was part of the last 10 days for myself as well. The week right before that meeting, I was in France to visit a friend who was really sick at the time, who was passing away. And despite the fact that he was living, that he was dying, my memories of that time are all such positive, wonderful, uplifting memories, so full of positivity, and then because they're all about love, reminding me where I come from and where I'm going. And both of those are really part of life, right? Both of those emotions and the way they come into our life are just part of life. And they are part of how we end up thinking also about this holiday of Passover. Passover is in 2 days. And Mitzrayim, the word for Egypt, which means narrow straits, partly because of geography, but also because in our Jewish thought, Mitzrayim becomes all those narrow places that come into our lives and that make us feel like we're in bondage, all those taskmasters, whether in our own mind or outside of us, that make us feel oppressed and embitter our lives. And right, Passover is all about being free of those places and going from the narrow places to the expanses, as it says in Psalms. The Mina Metzach, from the narrow places I called out to you and you answered me in the wide places. And it's not just about Egypt, even today, in that we sang the prayer for the hostages, and what are we praying? To take them from the narrow places to the expanses, because that's where we want to spend our lives. Because freedom is being out of the narrow places, out of Mitzrayim. And last week, I ended up rewatching some of the videos of the March for Israel in Washington. That was back in November, I believe. And it was so moving to see these short clips, and that there was, despite what was happening at the time, and still happening, but all the hostages situation, and October 7th, it was just a month before, there was such a positivity to that march. And I loved watching this very gritty Israeli rocker, Omer Adam, sing Hatikva and Vehisha Amda from the Passover Seder. And he looked, not as he does in music videos, but there was something else going on. I could just tell he was so uplifted, because in front of him were these sea of people, and right in front were all these teenagers, American teenagers, who'd come to show support for Israel. And went all the way back, hundreds of thousands singing, and it was really all about love. And one of the lessons of Passover that does not depart from us, even as we live so many thousands of years after that story, not only about leaving bondage, but also that we have a choice. That we have a choice how we respond to everything that happens in our lives. And then maybe at the end, we make our own Egypts and we make our own promised lands. And that Mitzrayim and the expanses of the promised land are not just physical places, but also mental places and spiritual places. And we have some say in which one we end up putting our energies and our thoughts and our minds. And watching that video, I was just thinking, how much what I was seeing was love of Israel and love of the spirit of Israel and of the dream of Israel. And there was no way not to be uplifted by it. That was my experience of it, at least. It was just soaring, and it took you into those places of expanse. And that's where we would like to put our minds on the love, on the, even when there's difficult things that happen. And we do not always get to pick the circumstances of our lives, historical or personal, or what we end up living through. But we do pick if we're free in our own hearts and minds from what those circumstances bring to us. In our parsha this morning, this case of the Metzora, of the biblical leper, who according to tradition, and really also from the pshat, the simple reading of the text itself, this is a spiritual disease. It's something that happened in the leper's life. It's not just a physical disease. And so finally he returns from this quarantine that he was in last week. And it's a whole process as we're reading through all these aliyot to finally get away from it all. But the beginning is so striking. He makes a sacrifice and he brings 2 birds to the priest. And I've been talking about this in a different way for a few weeks. So 1 bird ends up being sacrificed. It's a little gruesome, but the blood is poured from the first bird over a bowl. And in the bowl it says you have to have ma'im chayim, living waters. And then the living waters with the blood in it and the hyssop and the cedar are mixed with the live bird, is dipped into all of it. And the commentators teach that these living waters, still what we use for mikvah, are ma'im chayim. This isn't tap water. This is water from a spring. This is water, and this symbolizes life, the movement of life, always moving and natural, moving forward, the power of life force. And so the bird, on the other hand, that's been sacrificed symbolizes the past of the leper and whatever transgression that brought him out of harmony, and in this way of thinking brought on this disease to him. Right, and in our thinking there's different ways, but the primary way in the Talmud is Reish Lakish says that he became a leper because of speaking ill of another person, because this is a disease that happened when you forgot about the importance of companionship and of friendship and said something not nice about another person and took away from that very beautiful part of life, which is uplifting each other instead of ruining friendships and hate and bringing people down and pushing one's point of view. And so that narrowness that had descended on that person had to be let go into the living waters. And the commentators add that some of the blood that didn't fall into the bowl would go onto the earth, and would be absorbed back into the source. And so then that live bird, I always have trouble imagining this, but the live bird was mixed into the water and the blood and the hyssop. And then the live bird was allowed to fly up into the sky. As the Ishbitzer Rabbi says, this is symbolic of love and expanse and of all those things, freedom, new beginnings, and that the bird was then flying high over the field, free at last. And so where are we going to live, and how are we going to respond? And the Torah's answer is always to the expanses, to transform and heal and take all those narrownesses that we carry at different moments in our lives and take those challenging parts and try and bring them into the living waters and the love. And this is Shabbat Agadol. This is the great Shabbat, the Shabbat that asks you, how are you going to live? And the answer is in faith and in love. In faith of what? In faith of that day that Mark was reading about, of that great day when the prophet Elijah, the spirit of the prophet Elijah, however we see it, will come, and the hearts of children will be restored for their parents, and the hearts of parents will be restored to their children, and love will be the way of every relationship and of the world itself, and there'll be no more Mitzrayim and no more narrow places. But until then, we all do what we can with the own circumstances that we've been given to bring all the narrowness into the living waters of our lives, to mix it up as best we can, and to let it fly free up above into the expanses of love and freedom. Shabbat Shalom.